Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Nam Nam Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Harinameva kevalam Kalu Nasteva 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 Gatiranyata.
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Krishna
So this is the birthplace of Srila Vrindavana Das Thakur, and just 5 minutes or even less away from here is the place of Vasudev Datta's deities. It's a temple of Saranga Thakur. So that there's several deities in that temple, Saranga Thakur's temple, which is only a few minutes away. So we definitely want to try to get darshan. We hope they'll keep the temple open for us, that we can go and see the deities. So we will speak on both places. We said this is the birthplace of Vrindavana Das Thakur. Vrindavana Das Thakur was the incarnation of Vyasadeva and Chaitanya Lila. He presented for us the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So Srila Vrindavana Das Thakur appeared here, and his mother was great devotee named Malini. Malini was the, right, Malini? Narayani, sorry, Narayani, yeah, Narayani, right. Narayani was the daughter of, well, she was the nephew of Srivas Thakur, the niece of Srivas Thakur. So Narayani had some nice pastimes with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When she was a little girl, Lord Chaitanya wanted to convince Srivas Thakur that he did not have to fear the Kasi, because Srivas Thakur was having a lot of kirtan in his home, you know. Lord Chaitanya was coming there every evening, having kirtan, nocturnal kirtans there. The pastimes of Lord Chaitanya took place mainly in the home. When he was in Mayapur, the main place of his pastimes was at the home of Srivas Thakur. Just as Lord Krishna appeared in Mathura, but his pastimes were in Vrindavana and Gokul, in the same way Lord Chaitanya appeared at the Yogapeeth, but it was at the home of Srivas Thakur where he performed many of his pastimes. So Srivas was always worried that the Muslim rulers would come and arrest him, he'd get some problem, because they were having so many devotional activities in his home. But Lord Chaitanya told him, said, Srivas, you don't have to worry. He said, if they do give you any trouble, I will come there and I will talk to the magistrate and I will challenge them that bring any of your priests, any of your mullahs, any of your preachers from your Mohammedan religion, bring them and ask them, can they make any animal cry in ecstasy of love of God? And then I will do it. I will show them. I will manifest love of God in any living entity. And then to convince Srivas Thakur of Lord Chaitanya's potency, Lord Chaitanya said, just see Narayani. Narayani, cry for Krishna. And Narayani began to exhibit ecstatic love for Krishna. Her body trembled in ecstasy, and she shed incessant tears from her eyes, and she fell on the ground and rolled on the ground in ecstasy of love of God. So that was one pastime of Narayani, and it's also said that Narayani, she got the remnants from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya told, Lord Chaitanya fed Narayani some prasadam. So Narayani when she was a young girl, she was blessed in this way by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah, this is for donations for this temple. This temple, it was established by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And we come here every year during the Parikrama. You know, it's not very easy to maintain a temple here. People are not very rich here, and they don't get many visitors, and sometimes even they get robbed. Yep, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati chastised disciples. He said, when you come to the holy place, he said, it's your duty to give some charity. So if you have something, you can donate. So we're speaking about Narayani, how she was the recipient of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, getting the remnants from Lord Chaitanya. And when later on she grew up, she was married, and her child was Vrindavana Thakura. He grew up to be a very great devotee, the incarnation of Vyasadeva. And he compiled the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And he compiled the Chaitanya Bhagavat before, this was before Krishnadas Kaviraj had written Caitanya-charitamrita. But he compiled the Chaitanya Bhagavat and he described Lord Chaitanya's early pastimes, but he did not speak about the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Krishnadas Kaviraj then took up that work to describe the later pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Caitanya-charitamrita. But this Chaitanya Bhagavat is very, very popular with the Bengali devotees especially because, of course, it's written in Bengali language and it's wonderful poetry. And often the Bengali people, even you can hear the brahmacharis, sometimes they recite it. They know many, many verses from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's beautiful poetry describing the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and also Lord Nityananda. Vrindavana Thakur describes himself as the last disciple of Lord Nityananda. And therefore you see a lot of information about Lord Nityananda is given in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So just near here is also, I'll speak about this island. We're in this island, this is called Navadwip. And this is, you know, the 9 islands of Navadwip. Each of the islands represent one anga of devotional service. So Navadwip is the place of dashyam, servitude. The mood here in Navadwip is we want to be fixed in the consciousness of being the eternal servant of the Lord. And it's said in this place, Navadwip, in the Treta Yuga, Lord Ramachandra came here when he was in exile with Sita and Lakshman. And they came here and they enjoyed the beauty of this Navadwip. We came along the road, but in the Treta Yuga, there were none of these villages, you know, it was more forests. And there were also wild animals and different things, but it was very natural. So Lord Ramachandra was here with Mother Sita and Lakshman, and Lord Ramachandra at one particular point, he was observed by Mother Sita that he was sitting, smiling to himself. He was sitting under a big banyan tree, which grows here in Navadwip. It's no longer manifest, but in the times of Lord Rama, there was this huge banyan tree. And Lord Rama was sitting under the banyan tree, and he was sitting, Mother Sita could see he was smiling to himself. So she asked him that, you know, what are you thinking? What's in your mind? And Lord Rama explained to Mother Sita, he said, you know, I'm thinking how in the future I will incarnate here in the Kali Yuga as Lord Gauranga in my most merciful incarnation. And in this incarnation, I will distribute freely love of God to everyone through the chanting of the holy names. And he went on to explain to Mother Sita that in that incarnation, you will be my wife. But at the age of 24, I will renounce the world, and I will take the renounced order of life, and I will leave home. So Mother Sita heard this. She said, "Oh, you're smiling about this. You're going to leave me. Why? What's the purpose of that?" So Lord Rama then explained to her that we can experience love in two ways. One is in sambhoga, in union, and the other is in vipralamba, separation. When there is separation, then there is more pleasure in the sambhoga. When one is separate from the object of one's love, then that love, the attachment increases, and then there's much more pleasure in that union. So, in order to allow you to experience more love, we will separate. I will take sannyas. So Lord Ramachandra was experiencing this. He was here in Treta Yuga, and he was remembering, thinking how in this Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya would come here. And he would dance here and perform Sankirtan, and he would distribute love of God to everyone. So just nearby, we have the temple of Saranga Thakur, and in that temple is also the deities of Vasudev Datta. Now Vasudev Datta was a very, very intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is Lord Chaitanya described Vasudev Datta as being the incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. And Caitanya-charitamrita describes how on a particular occasion when Vasudev Datta and other devotees from Navadvip had gone to Puri to observe Rath Yatra and to also associate with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So after taking the association of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the devotees were preparing to go, at that time they came to get the blessings from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it said at that time, on one particular occasion, Vasudev Datta came before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and requested him that, let me take all the sinful reactions of all these conditioned souls and let them all be delivered. I will stay here and suffer for their sins. Vasudev Datta was feeling compassion on all of the conditioned souls, and he begged Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, let me take the reactions for them and let them all be delivered. Prabhupada, or rather Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, describes in his purport in this section of the Caitanya-charitamrita that a personality like Vasudev Datta is more magnanimous than even Lord Jesus Christ. Lord Jesus Christ died for the sins of his followers, but he did not deliver them. He freed them from their sins, but he didn't deliver them. Vasudev Datta didn't just only want the people to be freed from their sins, he wanted them to be liberated, to go back to Godhead. And Vasudev Datta wanted to give his he wanted to take the sins for everyone, not just for some followers, not for just those who had faith in him, but for everyone. He said, let every living entity be delivered. So when Lord Chaitanya heard this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu his body began to shake, began to quiver in ecstatic love. And he trembled and tears came from his eyes. He felt so much pleasure in hearing this desire of Vasudeva Datta. Then the Caitanya-charitamrita goes on to describe how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Vasudeva Datta that you don't have to stay here for their sins. Krishna says, if Krishna himself will deliver these people from their sins, because you desire them to be delivered, Lord Krishna wants to fulfill the desires of his devotees. All of their sinful reactions will be taken away and they will all be delivered by the mercy of Krishna. You don't have to stay here and suffer for them. That is not required. Then Lord Chaitanya went on to give 3 different examples how it is true that Vasudeva Datta didn't have to stay here and suffer for the conditioned souls. Mahaprabhu tells, first of all, he said, just like an Udambara tree. Udambara tree has millions of tiny fruits on it. So if one fruit goes missing, if one fruit is lost from the tree, it's not a big problem for that tree, because there are countless other fruits on the tree. Then he gave the example, just like if you have a bag of mustard seeds and you lose one mustard seed, what is the loss? One tiny mustard seed from a bag of mustard seeds. There are so many seeds. When you lose one seed, you don't worry about it. And the third example, he said, just like one may have a big herd of Kamadhenu cows, and he has one billy goat. So if you lose a goat, you have already so many Kamadhenu cows, you don't worry about one little billy goat. Not important. In the same way, the Lord is not worried about one universe. If one universe is delivered, it's not a problem for him. He's not worried about it. There are so many other universes in the causal ocean. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya told Vasudeva Datta how he was so much pleased with him, desiring the deliverance of all living entities. And at that time he told him, you are the incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. And it said that Lord Chaitanya used to say, I have given my life to Vasudeva Datta. I sell myself to Vasudeva Datta. He has purchased me by his devotion. So he was one of the very intimate associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll invite His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj to continue speaking some more pastimes from this place.
It's already been around. Yeah, it's been everywhere. It can be given insight. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. I'll speak short because we want to go to the temple of Vasudeva Datta for darshan. Here in this birthplace of Srila Vrindavana Das Thakura, who is the disciple of Lord Nityananda, Vrindavana Das Thakura displayed that ecstasy, the ecstasy that was there in Nityananda and his associates. And that ecstasy speaks to us in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. We find that the Chaitanya Bhagavat is following the same chronology of pastimes of Lord Chaitanya as we find in the earlier biographies. Murari Gupta, who was the direct eyewitness. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur had not personally witnessed so many of the pastimes that he recorded, but he revealed them in a most wonderful way. He wrote extensively about the Navadvip pastimes and the early appearance of the Lord, and we see many amazing pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his youth, and how as a youth he was wild. He was sporting at the Ganga along with his friends while he was studying. When Brahmanas would be chanting Gayatri in the Ganga, the Brahmanas were proud of their Brahminical status. So Nimai swam underwater while they were standing up to their waist in the water, and in the middle of their Gayatri would pull their legs and they would fall over. In this way he played. One day Nimai sat on the bank of the Ganga, and while some of the proud Brahmanas came out of the river Ganga, Nimai suddenly spit Ganga water on them. He had his mouth full of water and he just spit it on them. So they became very upset. Imagine the mercy when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is spitting on us. In this way, Lord Chaitanya performed his pastimes and did not appreciate impersonalism, did not appreciate pride in the Brahmanas, but rather Lord Chaitanya, even as a child, was playfully actually establishing the absolute truth. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur describes that these Brahmanas went to complain to Nimai's parents. But somehow or other Nimai, when he came home, his hair was dry and there was dust on his body and still ink spots from the school. So Nimai said, "No, I never went to the Ganga today. So, didn't take my bath yet." His friend said, "Very smart, Nimai, very smart. You escaped today." So in this way, the early pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are described. Then, as Nimai grew up, he manifested himself like a great learned pandit. And we find all these descriptions. And we find how Mother Sachi, she asks her son, "What scriptures are you teaching from today?" It was at that point that the change in Nimai's life had occurred. Because when Nimai was young, his father died. And then he went to Gaya to perform a ceremony for his departed father, some Shraddha ceremony. And there he met his spiritual master, Srila Ishwara Puri, and then he returned as a new person. And from that day on, everything had changed. And Nimai would just speak about Krishna only. And His mother asked him, so from what scripture will you speak today? And Nimai said, any book that is not glorifying Krishna or describing devotional service of Krishna is not scripture at all. Right? In this way, he gave a very, very strong definition. And in this way, we see that Nimai was teaching pure devotional service. He was displaying pure devotional service and the great ecstasy of pure devotional service. The hairs on his body stood on end. And Srila Vrindavana Thakur has extensively described the life and pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but only a little bit about the pastimes in Puri, mainly Navadvip, a little bit about Puri. So later in the Caitanya-charitamrita, we find a description about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in Jagannath Puri. We are now going to the temple of Vasudev Datta. And Vasudev Datta, of course, is the embodiment of compassion. Maharaj has told us the descriptions about Vasudev Datta from Caitanya-charitamrita, and we find that Vasudev Datta is ready to take the karma of all the living beings in the universe. Of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's response was also clear. There's so many universes. What is one universe anyway? But we are particularly approaching Vasudev Datta, meditating on his extraordinary compassion. Where do we see such a spirit of compassion? Such compassion, how is it possible? If we think about compassion, compassion is only possible when one has something better. If you have something better, then you can be compassionate. Otherwise, you cannot be compassionate. But Vasudev had received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore he could be compassionate. He could be a via media of that mercy. And in the same way, we could also be. We could also be. But are we willing to be? It is difficult because we are still attached to our own personal position. We are thinking, yes, but how much austerity can I take? And how much, my comfort, I need some. And what about me and my needs and so on? But Vasudev Datta put all that aside and was simply focused on the welfare of all living beings, to be prepared to take the karmic reactions of all living beings is not a small thing. Just suffering our own reactions, I don't know about yours, but I know about mine. And I'm struggling with it. Just with one person's karma, I have a hard time, to be honest. Somehow or other, I'm making it through it. And if I would have to take your karma as well, I'm not sure. But if I'd have to take the karma of all living beings in the entire universe, how much difficulty, how much suffering is included in that? Therefore, let us appreciate the depth of Vasudev's compassion. And therefore, this place, Mamgachi, is very important. It is very important. Because what will we do without compassion? How can we push on this movement without compassion? Where will we get it? Where will we ever get it? Today. Today we can come here as beggars. And we can beg. We can beg from Vasudev Datta, oh please, give me a drop of compassion, please, something, so that we can leave from here and with full dedication take up that mission of delivering conditioned souls. all throughout this universe. So let us go there without delay so that we get the darshan. We sent an advance party to let them know we're coming, so it's still open. Or say we say something there. Usually we talk there also. Yeah. Normally I talk there. Yeah. But we can speak about Saranga Thakura a little bit here. Saranga Thakura was an extraordinary devotee. Saranga Thakura was such a devotee, one of the very potent and powerful associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was on the topmost level of pure devotional service. In the Caitanya-charitamrita, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that that a Vaishnava who has ruchi, taste, he can give shraddha to someone. He says a Vaishnava who has ecstasy, who has bhav, he can give taste or ruchi to someone else. And a prema bhakta, he can even bring a person up to his own level. Srila Saranga Thakur, he was such an extraordinary devotee, but somehow or other very humble, and he never considered himself qualified to accept disciples. But he received the order. He received the order that he should take disciples. So then he thought, okay, I will take a disciple, and tomorrow, the first person I meet, I will initiate. So he got up very early in the morning and went for his bath in the Ganga. And as he was in the Ganga, somebody bumped into him. He said, okay, this is the one. But it was a person who had been bitten by a snake. And it is a customary practice even today that when someone is bitten by a snake, that they will not burn the body. They'll place the body on a raft of banana trees and even put a little mosquito net over it and put him on the Ganga to float. Because sometimes, after days, even someone wakes up. So in this case, the person who bumped into him was such a person floating on such a banana raft. And Saranga Thakur decided to initiate him, and he touched this dead body, or maybe body in a coma, on the head with his lotus foot. And immediately that person awoke, and immediately that devotee became very ecstatic. And yes, Saranga Thakur called him Murari Chaitanya. And Murari Chaitanya was quite a devotee. He was fearless of death, for one thing. And he would go and preach everywhere. He would go into the forest and slap a tiger in the face and say, chant, chant. Slap a tiger and chant, yes. He would play with cobras on his lap. He was just a totally fearless, ecstatic devotee, Murari Chaitanya. So in this way, we see the associates of the Supreme Lord become completely transcendental to this material realm and are just absorbed in an ocean of transcendental ecstasy. So let us go forward with a little more kirtan, and we'll have kirtan then in the temple of Madan Gopal, the deities of Vasudev Datta. Hare Krishna. Srila Vasudev Datta ki jai, Srila Vrindavana Thakur ki jai, Srila Saranga Thakur ki jai, and Srila Murari Chaitanya ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare
The 9 islands of Navadvip are in the form of a lotus, 8 petals of the lotus and one in the center of the lotus. That's where the Yoga Pit is, the place where Lord Chaitanya actually appears. So now we're in one of the petals, Moda Drumadvip. We said the place of Dashyam. And we were telling how Lord Ramachandra appears here in the Treta Yuga. Actually, the Lord appears in this dham in every yuga. In the Satya Yuga, Lord Varaha appears. In the Satya Yuga, Lord Varaha appeared over in Koladvip. Koladvip is over in Navadvip. Now it's called Navadvip city there. Over there's a place called Koladvip, where Lord Varaha appeared. And then Lord Rama comes here in the Treta Yuga. And then in the Dwapara Yuga, Lord Krishna came here. Because there was a great king. There was a great king called Samudra Sen. And he was a great devotee. And what happened when Bhima came collecting taxes. He wanted all the kings to submit themselves and to give respect to Maharaj Yudhisthira, so Maharaj Yudhisthira could perform Rajasuya sacrifice. But when Bhima came, Samudra Sen decided, he said, if I refuse him and I fight him, I'll give him such a fight that Lord Krishna will have to come to save him. So that's what happened. Samudra Sen was approached by Bhima to accept the authority of Maharaj Yudhisthira, and he said, "No, I don't accept Yudhisthira." So then Bhima had to fight, and his army was put to task. They had a great difficulty. Bhima was in trouble, and he was in so much trouble, he was going to be defeated. He prayed to Krishna to help him. And of course, Krishna's promised that he will always come to help his devotee. So it happened that Lord Krishna appeared there. When Bhima was fighting Samudra Sen, Lord Krishna came there. And when Krishna appeared, then Samudra Sen, then he surrendered. And he accepted Bhima and told Bhima, "All right, no problem, I accept Yudhisthira now." And so Bhima didn't know Lord Krishna had actually come to help him. But Samudra Sen saw Krishna. So Lord Krishna came here in the Dwapara Yuga, in Navadwip Dham. And of course in the Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears here. So in every age, the Lord comes in this Navadwip Dham, in different incarnations, different forms, to perform his pastime, giving pleasure to his devotees. So this holy Dham, very special, right? Navadwip Dham, the place of mercy. We get mercy. It said in Vrindavan, you go to Vrindavan, if you commit an offense, it's very serious. But here in Navadwip Dham, this is a place of mercy. The Lord is very merciful here. Even if you just lay down, you get the benefit of offering obeisances. You lay down to go to sleep, you get the benefit of offering respect to the Lord. So this holy place, Navadwip, Mayapur Dham, is very special, that you do a little service and you get 1,000 times more benefit of doing service any other place. And the Lord doesn't consider any offenses in this holy place. He doesn't consider offenses unless you offend his devotee. He doesn't take offenses against himself, but he takes offenses against his devotee. So, coming in the holy Dham, it's a very big responsibility, respecting all the Dhamvasis. When we would come on Parikrama, Jayapataka Swami, when he was in better health, he would always organize us. He said, everybody has to give the holy name. You know that the Dhamvasis, they all hear our kirtan and they come out. Sometimes they come out, you can see them cleaning their teeth and they're standing there watching us. And other times they're just standing, they just come to look. But we should give them the holy name. And especially like today, on the path where we were coming, I think all these people, they're all Hindus. And if you ask them to chant the holy name, they'll immediately respond. You know, sometimes we go past a school and the whole school will come out, all the little children. And we come by, all the little children, they're all standing watching. And if you say to them, Bolo, Hare Krishna, every one of them will throw their arms in the air spontaneously and they'll say, Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Yeah. So this is, this should be our mood in coming in the holy Dham. We want to inspire people also to chant the holy name. And I saw even sometimes devotees distribute book. I saw a devotee today, he was in the shop, he was talking to the shopkeeper, convincing him to take one of the books. So sometimes we give out books also. We get people to sponsor the books, and then we can give out the books. And if people can give a donation, that's also very nice. But there's a lot of preaching goes on here in Navadvip Dham. The devotees from Mayapur regularly come out to these different areas, and they have Bhakti Briksha programs, they have little namhatas in some places, and there's many, many devotees. And when it comes to the Parikrama, you'll see by far the biggest Parikrama is the Bengali Parikrama. There's about 2,000 Bengalis every year come on Parikrama. So these Bengali people, for them, this is their culture. They love, you can see everywhere we go, we're seeing pictures of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, decorating different buildings and so on. So this is only in recent years these things have come about. It's become more popular because of ISKCON, because of our preaching, all the work the devotees are doing from Mayapur. They come over here and they have classes, and they have also their Food for Life program and so on. Actually, the people here, they may not seem very wealthy, but actually they're very wealthy. They're very happy. They live very natural, peaceful life here. We're living in a hell. We live in hellish cities, full of noise and pollution. But these people here in the villages, they're living so natural life. How do they live? They grow some rice, they have some land here, they grow vegetables, they get their jackfruits and their different bananas and plantains and fruits like that. And very naturally they're living. They don't have a supermarket to go to purchase everything. They live here depending on nature. Last year when I was here, I took a group of devotees over to one of the areas, and they fed us, everything they fed us, they had grown themselves. The rice, the vegetables, everything, the dal, they grow it all. Even the spices. Prabhupada definitely, he wanted like that we would grow our own food, grow our own grains. He didn't want us depending on others to do all that work for us. He liked to see the devotees make use of the land and grow food and offer everything to Krishna. And of course we see cows. When you see goats, then you'll know that village must be some Mohammedans there. But the Hindus, usually, they even today, you can see they keep cows. They respect the cow and take care of the cow. So they have that culture. And of course they all know Mayapur. Every year we're coming here. Every year, in another few weeks, when the Parikrama will be towards the end of February this year, the Parikrama comes up. So then all the other temples come, the Gaudiya Mats and so on, they're all coming as well. So many Parikramas are going on. And at that time, this is one of the places which they all come and visit. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had made this Parikrama very popular. In his time, he was coming on an elephant with a big procession. But at one point, because there was some conflict about where is actually the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there were some people who were claiming that the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was over in Navadvip. But we know Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had established the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya was not at Navadvip, but it was over in Mayapur on the other side of the Ganga. But there were many people not happy with this, because some people, they were making a business from the holy place. and they wanted the holy place over in their side, where they could get the money. They wanted it over there in Navadvip, where it actually wasn't. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada began to do parikrama, at one point they were stoned. The local people were so against it, some of them, that they arranged it. They stoned the Sankirtan party. So it was a big scandal and a lot of arguing and talking, and finally Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came out successful. And people were sympathetic to his movement, and they thought it was very bad that people had stoned them, and they encouraged them to go on with their mission. So later on, we started also our own parikrama for ISKCON. Every year, Prabhupada wanted Gaur Purnima festival, so the devotees would come to Mayapur. And when we first came to Mayapur, we didn't really know what to do. And then some of the sannyasis had been living here. There were some people who had been living here in Mayapur at that time, and they had learned some Bengali, and they'd learned about some of the places. So they would take the devotees out on Sankirtan, and they'd go down the road to the Yoga Pith and see the Yoga Pith, and then go on to the other places, Shiva Sangam, and then the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Samadhi and the Chaitanya Mat there, and see these places and come back. But gradually, more and more has come. Jayapataka Swami and all the GBC decided that we should go out on parikrama, and they organized the parikrama. We went out. In the beginning, we had no camp. I was on the first parikrama when we went out to stay out at night. We were about 80 devotees, and we were bathing in the village pakor, right? Village pakor means the lake. In the village, there's always a lake where the village people bathe. So we would all bathe in the village, in the lake, the same lake with all the villagers. So they didn't like that very much, We were all foreigners. There were not so many Indian devotees in those days. So we were all Westerners, and we were coming, and we were camping in their village, and then bathing in their pakor. So it wasn't very good, really. Not so. Sometimes we do things like we would rent some land. We had to pay like sometimes one school. I remember we used to stay in one school there over in where is it? I forget the names of all these places now. Vijayanagar. There was one school there, and we would stay in the school. We'd all sleep in the different classrooms. And there would even be a big festival that night. The devotees would come from Mayapur, and the devotees from Mayapur, they have a drama team, and they put on Bengali dramas. And they would come to Vijayanagar, and they'd put on a Bengali drama, and the whole people would come from everywhere. India, whenever there's a you don't know where the people are coming from, but some are just masses of people, they just appear from the trees and everywhere, you don't know where they come from, but there's never any shortage of people. So we'd have these Bengali dramas, and the whole place would be mobbed with people, so many people. And we would all be staying in the school, and sometimes we'd rent land and put up tents. But now, I think since last year was the first time, in every camp where we stay, we have our own land. And because we have our own land, so they're able to make facilities a little better. Instead of bathing in the pakor, and then we had these bringing water and pumps, and it was very primitive, and the sanitary conditions wasn't very good. But now, with having our own land, then we have a much better opportunity to have more sanitary conditions. We have toilets, and we've arranged the water supply and everything. So it's much nicer, much easier for people to come out on parikrama and to stay out, and to make it attractive to devotees to stay out on parikrama. Then every evening we have also programs. We have before the arti in the evening, we have questions and answers, and then there's Sandhya Arti, and then after Sandhya Arti, then a very senior sannyasi or leading devotee is invited to come over and give a class. So that's every evening. There's a very nice program for all the devotees. During the daytime, we're walking and visiting the different places. You know, in Vrindavan, you have to walk so far, you know. You go on Brajamandal Parikrama, it's not so easy. 20 kilometers every day. 20 or 30 kilometers sometimes. It's a long walk. But, and also the places to talk, it's not so many places. And the Kirtan party, if you go on the Brajamandal Parikrama, the Bengali party, they go super fast, you know. And you can't catch up with them. They've already reached the camp. Everybody's still walking. But in Navadvip Parikrama, we have a lot of kirtan, and we don't walk so far. We walk a couple of kilometers, and then we stop and have a talk and have some lecture. And we have a women's kirtan party and the men's kirtan party. You see, and very nice programs, kirtan all the way, and a lot of dramas also. If we thought about it more, we could have had a drama here today. We could have had the drama of Saranga Thakur and how he got Murari as his disciple. Different dramas could have been done. So many leelas. It's very nice. Each of the places when we go on parikrama, we try to do a drama to portray the incident. Prabhupada liked very much dramas. I was in one temple, I was in New York when Prabhupada came there, and we did a drama, and Prabhupada watched the drama with great interest, and he said, "These dramas are better than my books." So he liked the dramas very much. So on parikrama also we try to do dramas every day. We get devotees to organize these things. So I'm encouraging all of you, you know, if you're going to be in Mayapur in another month when the parikrama begins, then you definitely want to come out on the parikrama. Don't miss that opportunity to come and visit the holy places in the association of all the devotees. This year there'll be another group. This year the Tamil party is going to be initiated. We have Bengali party, we have Russian party, we have Hindi party, and previously we had the international party. But this year, for the first time, there will be a separate Tamil party. So those of you who are Tamil speaking, you may like to join that party, right? That's going to be a new party. And so it's a very great event, taking part in parikrama, all the devotees, thousands of devotees. Bengali party, 2,000 devotees. Hindi party, always a big group also, at least 1,000. All Delhi devotees come. So they're the main people in the Hindi party. And different devotees are moving around giving lectures. Jayapataka Swami, he likes to visit each of the parties every day. He goes in his car and, you know, he comes to each place and he will speak to each group. And many other senior devotees who you may not get the opportunity to hear, they will come and give classes and tell us about the significance of each of the holy places. So parikrama is described to be serving the lotus feet of the Lord, for taking part in the Parikrama, is Pada Sevanam. So we don't often get this opportunity. It's very nice. Just today we had just one day to do a little Parikrama. So we're very fortunate. Come out and visit these places, Mamgachi, hear about Vrindavana Thakur and see the deities of Vasudev Datta. The Pujari was explaining to me about the deities. He said there are 3 sets of Radha Krishna deities. The very smallest one was the deities of Shivananda Sen. Shivananda Sen was a very intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the big deities at the back, that's Vasudev Datta's deity. In the middle size Radha Krishna, that's the deity of Saranga Thakur. And over on the left, you could see, with his hand up, Gaur Gadadhar. This was the deities. The Pujari told me those Gaur Gadadhar deities, they were the deities taken by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati when he went on Parikrama. So that's, and then in the front there were small Jagannath deities. I didn't ask him about the Jagannath deities. Another time I must ask him how they got there. You can see people have deities and often they can't take care of them. And they get put in one temple, you know. Originally they had their own temple, but because they're not able to serve them very well, they get kind of merged in there, and you get 3 sets of Radha Krishna deities. But somehow they're being taken care of, they're being looked after. So we want to continue our ISKCON centers. You have to be very careful. That's why nowadays we have a deity worship department. And before you install deities, you have to get permission. Before you begin the worship of any deity, before you invite any deity to come into your ISKCON center, you first have to get approval from the deity worship department. And they will examine how many Brahmins you have, how many people, how much congregation do you have, how many offerings are you able to make, do you have enough money, do you have proper resources to take care of the deity. So it's a serious responsibility to take care of to bring the Lord. Once we begin the worship, we must continue. Srila Prabhupada told us, said, whenever a temple is opened, it can never be closed. You have to maintain it. You have to continue. So it's very important for us to take care of the deity and to have proper facility. Before we bring the deity, make sure you have the right enough facilities, you have enough people, you have enough money coming also to maintain the worship. It's a serious responsibility. If we don't do it properly, then we will suffer. We will get reaction. Okay, prasadam is here. You should take prasadam. Everyone sitting down now. Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave Shvapa Punya Vitam Rajam Vishwakshone Vajayate Charira Vijaja Jotandriyateka Jive Phale Vishaya Shagare Dharmaje Jivayati Lobamaya Sadurmati Take Jata Katina Samshare Krishna Vadadayamai Karibara Jivachai Swaprasadana Delobai Sayanamrita Pao Radha Krishna Gunagal Pramadiko Chaitanya Nitai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Krishna Prasadam ki, Navadvip Dham Parikrama ki, Gaur Premanande.